Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of SimplyPodLogical, a Simply Nailogical podcast.
Hello, happy Taco Tuesday.
Happy Taco Tuesday. Christine, today we just want to talk about some current events, things that are interesting to us. I feel like we need a name for this. We've done this a few times.
A name?
We need like the buzz, the podlogical minute.
The minute, the hour,
This
Ben.
is now Entertainment Tonight Taco Tuesday or something.
Tacos tonight.
Tacos tonight?
Tonight's tacos, presented by Menchie.
Sounds a little suggestive.
I
If
don't-
you have
yeah.
an idea, comment down below on what we could call it. Because there's just a few things going on in
Yeah.
the world of digital media, streaming, chess, music, gambling, Drake. We just want to talk about some stuff.
Lots of shit going on.
Hope that's okay with you.
Yes. Well, it's okay with me. But
Okay.
the
I
audience
was thinking
too.
of
You're
that.
okay. I thought you were looking right at me when you were like, I hope that's okay with you. I'm like, I think so.
I hope that's
I'm
okay
your
with
co-host.
you. All right, first one. What's going on with Twitch lately, Christine? So for people who don't know, twitch.tv is like the streaming server, the main platform in the world for streaming content still. It is like the only competitor to YouTube in this space in terms of online video content.
It's what people associate with live streaming. Even if you've never heard of Twitch or you don't want to go there because it's not for you, you've probably just maybe you have heard of it, but you don't go there.
Yeah.
But like a lot of people live stream there, and there's been some incredibly successful creators established on Twitch.
Yeah, most of you probably know this, although I'm always surprised by, I think a lot of people tend to just be like, I watch videos on YouTube and I'll just watch whatever is on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then there seems to be a bit of a division with like people who are immersed in Twitch culture and actually watch streamers.
And they know everything about Twitch culture.
Yeah.
And they find it shocking that there's people who don't know what Twitch is or watch. But I know from like polling people, even on my stream and just general conversation, that we have quite a divided audience. There's definitely those two groups of people. People are like, what is Twitch? I do not watch. I do not care.
Yeah.
And then other people are like, how do you not know this? Yeah.
Yeah, so Pokimane, Hassan, XQC, huge Twitch streamers. And yeah, Twitch is the platform that has market share still when it comes to the hours of content produced, watched, It still is the platform people, I think, primarily think of when they think of streaming content, even though YouTube is increasingly building their portfolio of creators and making investments into live content as well. We'll kind of revisit that in a little bit. But like a lot has been going on with Twitch lately. Maybe a good entry point into this is they banned gambling on Twitch. And this will, I think, make sense why that matters in a little bit. But there had been a problem on Twitch, I think a lot of people think, with a lot of really large creators who would do sponsored gambling streams.
So what does that mean? Because I actually am not a consumer of gambling content. What does gambling streams really mean?
Oh, if you've never
Like,
seen
yeah.
it, it's like... Try not to be it, too.
No, just describe it.
It's people going to websites where you click a button and you see like a roulette wheel spin and it lands on a button and they're gambling. It's just gambling. It's just digital gambling.
Okay, but the content or what it is they're doing is like slots or chance or like clicking
It's
games.
a lot of like
kinda thing?
roulette chance-based
Like roulette
games.
chance.
Yeah,
And then
like
they bet on it with real money online, but then the
Yeah.
creator is sponsored by the provider of this
yeah,
slot
these
website.
platforms tend to be cryptocurrency based, and they tend to not be based in the United States. The famous example is Stake, which has sponsored
That's
a bunch of big.
Right.
Drake has some involvement in this too, and he's actually a good example of where there's some sort of dubious nature. Drake was posting content, things on Instagram of him gambling hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars on sports and just like roulette.
Is that against Instagram terms of service? I actually don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know.
But for a long time, people are like, "Are they paying you to do this?" And
Oh,
like,
he didn't disclose.
they weren't disclosed as sponsorships, and then more recently, he announced a partnership with them.
Okay.
But it's still unclear if what he was doing before was sponsored
Just
or not. Was he
undisclosed
receiving any sort of consideration? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think disclosure is one big problem here, because we could talk about the ethics of gambling more generally, but I think the reason why people thought these sort of gambling streams or streamers promoting gambling was a problem is, first of all, the audience is like super young, but you have a bunch of people being sponsored to gamble on stream. So they're being given money to gamble.
They're being given money
takes-
to waste money.
It takes
potentially.
away the risk of you are going to lose your life savings gambling a lot of money if you're being paid to use the service in the first place.
That's a really good fucking point,
And you're-
because you as the influencer have that financial protection, not only because you're already a very successful creator who's successful enough to get sponsorships, but you're literally being paid to potentially just throw away your money. But people aren't really seeing it that way. They're just seeing it as like, oh, this guy, I really like him. I follow his stuff and he thinks this website is cool. And he might have lost 20 grand, but then the next day he had a big win. So, you know, I want that for me. And that's what influencing is. But
That is
so
influencing.
that is influencing. But, you know, there's certain things in my career that I've been offered to promote, and I say no because I don't like the ethics of it. And gambling would have been one of them if I was ever offered.
Yeah. So apparently a bunch of big Twitch streamers behind the scenes have been talking publicly and to people at Twitch about how they think this is bad for the platform and that Twitch should do something about it. So on, what was it, September 20th, very recently, Twitch came out with a statement saying, we're going to be making a policy update as of October 18th to prohibit streaming of gambling sites that include slots, roulette, or dice games that aren't licensed either in the U.S. or other jurisdictions that provide sufficient consumer protection.
So is that most gambling websites? Or are there a bunch of gambling websites that are licensed in the U.S., so this won't matter?
Yeah, like, I don't know how much in the weeds we want to get into this, but like they're clearly wanting to leave the door open so they can partner with like major gambling organizations that have affiliations with the major sports leagues so that they're not outright banning gambling type things or like poker tournaments and things like that.
Can you educate me for a second? When you gamble on sports stuff online, that's still gambling. Like
It is gambling.
Wait,
yeah.
sorry, it's a dumbass
gamba.
question. But like, you're betting on which team is gonna win or lose, and you have no fucking clue. Generally speaking, like what will happen. I mean, you
Make
could
an
have a little
educated
bit of an
guess.
educated guess, but you could also have an educated guess about like some chance games where there's a little bit more. Like if you've seen this many land on red so far, whatever. Some people would argue you could use some history to try and help you make that decision. So what is the difference between sports gambling and gambling on red or roulette?
Well, one is sports and one is a game that's purely of I mean, do you want to just talk about our opinions on gambling
But
more
like
generally?
I don't. Maybe
I think
like I don't.
you're-
Are we just making an excuse for sports because people just like sports, and therefore it's not considered gambling in the same way?
To me, the important distinction here is, are these gambling organizations in jurisdictions that regulate them in a way to know that they're being run properly? So like in Ontario recently legalized gambling. That's the province we live in, the state we live in for Americans.
The state.
The state of Ontario, yeah. Recently legalized gambling on sports.
Just
so now when
sports.
I watch a hockey game, I'm inundated with commercials telling me I should gamble on sports.
That's crazy.
I actually don't like that. I don't like the fact that there are young kids watching their hockey sports heroes and they're getting overwhelmed with commercials about gambling and they're seeing Wayne Gretzky in commercials promoting gambling. I don't like that, honestly. But I trust that the province of Ontario is vetting and regulating the organizations they are allowed to be legally permitting gambling on sports in this jurisdiction, whereas these crypto gambling sites tend to be registered in like tax shelters or strange places with like mailing addresses that are like their business address. The ownership structure is maybe not clear. Who knows who is paying taxes? This is all, I'm just going to say this is speculation just so it's not like
Yeah.
I'm calling any one particular person or organization out. But I think the major concern with me is we have no idea how these organizations are being regulated or if they're necessarily even ethical. And there have been occasions where like there was a famous case of a poker website years ago that people were gambling on, that it turns out someone behind the scenes was just at a computer who could see like everyone else's cards and it was just cheating, right? And I'm not saying that never happens in legitimate gambling organizations. There's definitely famous high profile examples of cheating, but like I would not gamble on a website that isn't properly regulated, or I had a lot of confidence.
I hear you. In a way, it's kind of like harm reduction. Well, not really, but just in the sense that like you're at least entrusting that corporation has undergone some regulatory checks and that they are registered in the appropriate territories, and that should give you a little bit more confidence that they're not just going to shut down and run away with your money or scam you or whatever. That still doesn't change the question of whether or not promoting gambling is an ethical thing to be doing, whether it's on TV in Ontario in between games, which anyone is watching, right?
Yeah.
Or an influencer choosing to promote it. I do think there is a difference, and I know this is the argument often raised by streamers who do participate in gambling, that like, hey, I'm an adult, I'm over 18, I can make the decision to do what I want with my money, just like I'm allegedly telling my viewers you must be over 18, but like just putting 18 plus in the title of your stream isn't really the same thing.
Sure,
but that's a different conversation. But I hear you, like I understand the argument you're trying to make there. I just still think there's a difference between influencing and promoting and advertising a behavior that we know is taken very seriously as an addiction. It can be a huge fucking problem for people and their families, and is often associated with exploiting people in more vulnerable groups, because that's exactly the type of activity that is attractive to people in more vulnerable groups who are just like hoping for the chance to change their lives around. And that's where the problem begins. Not for everyone. A lot of people can casually, just go gamble with their friends, and it's not a big deal. I acknowledge that too. But it's also destroyed lives. And I think like kind of ignoring that and just be like, you're responsible for what you do. You're over 18. Fuck it. I don't care. I'm just going to take the bag or whatever. And ignore the serious problem that this has created in so many communities.
I hear what you mean. There's a layer here that goes beyond just like the personal responsibility. Because on like a purely personal level, I kind of look at it the same way I look at like drinking. Like you can have a healthy relationship to alcohol. I can have a glass of red wine with dinner on the weekend or something, right? And I could also have a really unhealthy relationship with alcohol that is incredibly destructive to like me and my family, for example. I think of gambling in the same way. Like I'll admit, I used to gamble a little bit on sports. When I was a younger man.
Tell us, expose yourself.
Story time.
Drama.
I want to be deliberately a little bit vague because
Why was it illegal, Ben?
Well, it wasn't. It
Ben
wasn't.
participated in unregulated gambling, no.
No, even gambling wasn't sanctioned or legal in Ontario.
I had friends who did online gambling.
But there were ways of gambling online through organizations that were registered on
remember.
Yes. Anyway, let's not get into that. But yeah, I used to gamble a little bit on sports, like a few hockey games and UFC fights. I used to be into UFC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that look like? Is that just amongst friends where you're like placing bets, or is this on a website that you give money to and then?
Yeah. So you would upload money to a website, and then I'd be watching a fight, and I would say, I think that guy's gonna beat that guy. And
then what happens when you win? What do they do?
You see the balance in your thing go up.
Your account go up. Can you withdraw the money?
So sorry, this is the story time for me. I uploaded the money.
You upload. What does that mean? You uploaded the money? Do you mean you paid by credit card?
I put some money into an account.
I uploaded the money to the cloud.
I put it in a cloud.
Okay, boomer.
No, I gamble. I put like $1,000 into some account so I could gamble on sports.
Okay.
I was up a good amount of money. And then when I went to take the money out, it was asking all sorts of information about like my banking information and stuff that I'm like, I'm not sure how much I trust the service.
Well, so how'd you expect to get paid?
I don't know. I was like 20 years old. I don't think
Did you pay with a credit card? And then they want your banking information to pay
what do you
back?
Do you want the 3 digits on the back of my card too? You're asking a lot of questions
SIN number?
here.
No, but just like thinking about it, it's really easy for people, consumers these days, or probably even 10 years ago, to give your credit card online. But when it's like, it's time for me to get paid back, and then they're asking for all your banking and the
they were asking for all my banking
number.
info as if it's like the direct deposit.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas I think these days, I think more people would maybe use PayPal or cryptocurrencies or whatever. Anyway, all I remember is feeling weird about it, so I just kept gambling. And then I bet a bunch of money on Alexander Gustafsson to beat John Jones.
In what sport?
In UFC. This is their first fight. He was a huge underdog, and he almost beat him. And I would have won like thousands and thousands of dollars.
But then you would have had to give your banking information.
I would have, yeah. But then instead, I bet it all on that fight.
So wait, you kept gambling, so you ended up losing everything, and so you wouldn't have to give your banking information.
Yes. So I won. I didn't have to give
So you
my
won. You didn't have to give a random sketchy
No.
company your
I
banking
know we're kind of
information.
laughing about this, but like,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
it gave me a bit of a taste of like how that could have been a pretty unhealthy thing. Like, I think today, if I was going to a hockey game and I wanted to put a few bucks on who could win or lose, and I could be responsible about that not being a stupid amount of money that I couldn't justify. I'm not saying gambling outright is bad or completely unethical or whatever.
And gambling is different depending on your circumstance. Just like streamers can easily fucking gamble 10 grand and just for content. Like a lot of them do it for content because it's funny in our fucked up minds to watch someone lose a bunch of money.
Is it fun? Because
Well,
the
I'm not saying
strangest...
I think it's funny. I'm just saying that's what I think a lot of their viewers find, fun to watch.
This is maybe the strangest thing about the fact that Twitch has had to ban this. First of all, I think this is a win for Twitch. And they announced this news the day before they announced some stuff that's
it's a
bad
PR
for the-
win, but it's probably not in the long run a good financial win because a lot of their more top streamers are like gambling streamers.
But this is what I find strangest is there were tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people watching enormous streamers just clicking a button and watching a roulette wheel spin.
Yeah.
That to me is like...
Well, that's just society.
It's
We're all a little
like
fucked.
going to a casino and watching some lady just pull a lever over and over again.
It's people I think are fascinated with watching someone who has such like high stakes. Like, are they gonna get it? Are they gonna lose it? Similar to some video games where like, are they gonna beat it? Are they gonna die? Like, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah, but at least I'm enjoying watching the game, and maybe they're good at the game. But I guess if you're watching someone pushing a button to spin a digital wheel,
Well, it's not just pushing a button. The person's like, talking and
yeah, exactly.
doing
I guess you're
entertainment.
only
Yeah, yeah.
watching the reaction of the person who is like, "Am I about to lose a bunch of
And
money?"
these influencers or streamers, sorry, they are content creators, so they know like they're playing up. Oh my fucking god! I just lost 10 grand. When like 10 grand to them is just like whatever. I got sponsored like 100 grand, so it's not a big deal.
That's the thing. And these guys were getting paid probably millions of dollars to gamble on stream,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm sure that makes it much easier. And also, I would be very curious, pure speculation, just asking questions. Were they winning more than you would expect them to win?
What
Like
does that mean?
if the gambling service is paying them to gamble, are they manipulating their odds to make it seem like you can win a bunch of money? But then all of their followers who are like, I want to win money, go to the site. Are they...
I don't think I would conspiracy theory that far, although I
don't think it's
fucking
that
clue.
much of a stretch.
But what I do think that I have no real information to base this off of, but it would make a lot of sense to me if the sponsoring company said, we will give you a true up on everything that you lose as a part of this deal. So if you lose 50 grand, we'll fucking give you the 50 grand. Don't worry about it.
Maybe.
I don't know this. I feel like that would make a lot of sense if you're taking on a risk in order to engage in a partnership. You as the content creator would want a little bit of a guarantee. And this is just like purely from a business sense. So, but that also makes another reason why the influencers like they don't have as much to lose.
And here's what I'll be paying attention to. Do any of these people who are doing gambling content for hours and hours, now that they can't do it online,
In a month, they can't do it. They can still do it.
a month
for
from now, are those people still gambling offline? Or no, they were only doing it because they were sponsored to do it? Or have these people legitimately become addicted to gambling, which actually wouldn't be shocking either?
I'm gonna say that I think a lot of them, because they're already so successful and have already millions of dollars, presumably, I don't think many of them will continue in the gambling. I think a lot of the times when you're doing a bunch of sponsored content and you're that big, if that sponsor no longer wants to endorse you or can't afford it, or for whatever reason there's a policy
banned
change,
by the
I think
platform,
you're
yeah.
just like, you're gonna stop doing it.
Yeah.
You're not gonna continue using the product.
Which is also
after,
a kind of a condemnation of the creators who were then only doing it because they could turn it into content, right?
Yeah, and it's not tricky for me because it's my personal view that it's not something I would want to promote. But it is tricky for a lot of the content creators in this position now who think this is terrible, that like they're being told they can't gamble as an 18-year-old adult, and gambling
No, they can
is
gamble.
legal.
You can gamble in your
just
own time.
not on the platform. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But they see that as a form of like, you're trying to censor me.
But this is such a... I hear the censorship argument all the time come up. You not being able to monetize you engaging in certain behaviors, isn't censorship.
It's like kids on YouTube. You can still have
Sure.
fun with your kids and post videos of them on YouTube, but YouTube changed some regulations about monetizing content with kids on YouTube. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Censorship doesn't mean you don't have the right to monetize whatever you want. Someone needs to pay an ad for that or want to purchase it, or these platforms are private businesses. Just that's such a stupid argument.
Is gambling legal on YouTube?
So YouTube has sort of a policy statement on this that I don't have the exact wording in front of me, but essentially like they have a list of things that they don't want you to link to or promote. So like it could apply to firearms, it could apply to gambling. And I think there's sort of like an exception clause where it's like, unless Google ads or like Google has otherwise approved this service,
Oh, okay.
otherwise it is not allowed to be
That
promoted.
kind of sounds like Twitch's policy change. Like, no, unless it's a U.S. regulated and we've said okay.
I think they've kind of come to similar conclusions.
Which is kind of
there.
like, okay, so you'll still, like, I assume that means a bunch of sports betting websites will still be allowed, even though it's still gambling, but it's okay because sports. But anyways, I'm not biased.
You're
towards
not
sports,
a fan of
so I'm just like, they're all gambling to me. You could still lose all your money, but okay.
I mean, to the extent that we have young people watching, I don't want to glorify gambling at all either, right?
No.
Like, we've
I
already
don't,
sort of
but
said
I'm
our-
also not gonna go personally attack an individual for like choosing to go to the casino. Like,
Yes.
it's fine, guys. It's fine. Like, it's okay. But I also, as an influencer, I would feel it's absolutely not right for me to take a sponsorship and promote it to my audience. But that's me from what I feel is appropriate for me on my platform to monetize. Not that I don't think like my friend down the road like goes to the casino. I'm not fucking shaming them. You know what I mean? Like, it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we agree this is kind of a win for Twitch or a good PR move, something people have been wanting. I don't think it's a coincidence. So this news comes out about banning gambling the day before Twitch announces a bunch of changes to their business structure and how they're going to be paying their creators, specifically some of their large creators.
So Twitch had a win and then they had an L.
And it's, it's a what do you want first, the good news or bad news sort of situation. I think they assumed they
Twitch
would
said
get
good news and bad news.
Yeah, I think they assumed they'd get a bunch of good PR from this gambling policy change. But then the very next day, they come out with a statement saying from the president, I think, saying that they're going to be changing the way they pay creators. That means top creators will be getting less money, essentially. So what is the policy change? Right now, by default on Twitch, it's a 50-50 split between you and Twitch in terms of the revenue.
Is that
the revenue share?
The ad revenue or the subscriptions?
I think we're
Or is
talking
it kind of
subscription
both?
revenue,
Yeah.
right?
So, yeah. So, like, the standard thing is if you are a Twitch streamer, then you get 50% of the subscription revenue and Twitch gets the other 50%. Unless you are part of some exclusive contract deal, which a lot of the top streamers on Twitch are, who have historically been given a more favorable deal with a 70-30 split, meaning the creator got 70% of their sub money revenue and Twitch would get 30.
So it is very common knowledge that top creators would negotiate special bespoke deals with Twitch that would give them a much better split than the typical 50-50, which is that 70-30 split, right? And a lot of creators have probably violated NDAs by talking about this, but a lot of people have acknowledged that the existence of the 70-30 split. And even the president here acknowledges, like, yes, top creators were on the 70-30 split. Mentioned something interesting, which was like over a year ago, they stopped giving them out. I think I could say this, but like when you decided you were going to start streaming on YouTube, we did have a conversation with someone at Twitch at one point just about if you wanted to consider that as a platform for streaming instead of YouTube. We chose YouTube for a bunch of reasons, but I remember asking about the revenue split on Twitch, and it was a very sort of not optimistic response about anything beyond the 50-50 split. So it was interesting to me to see confirmation here that they stopped giving out the 70-30, because I think that what I was sort of hearing in that conversation was like, we don't really do that anymore.
Right.
Right. So And I don't think it's a coincidence too. Like in the last year, we've seen a lot of big creators who got big on Twitch coming over to YouTube. Now we know that in the past 12 months, if people were up for renewal on their contracts to exclusively stream on Twitch, presumably they were being told, we're not giving 70-30 anymore. You're only going to get 50-50. So for anyone who doesn't know what we're just talking about the share that you get versus what Twitch gets from your channel revenue, right?
And I just want to clarify that that's not why I decided to stream on YouTube, because I thought I wouldn't get more money from Twitch.
No, yeah.
That's not why. I had zero established presence on Twitch. Everyone knows me as a YouTuber. Honestly, that was the motivation, not the financial.
Yeah. I think we were just sort of curious what was out there. Anyway, so that's a huge change. So I guess what they're saying is for these top creators, they'll keep, as of June of next year, the 70-30 split will only exist on the first $100,000 of revenue, and then it will drop down to 50-50.
So when you're a top creator, you're making more than $100. You're making millions of dollars. So that's now you're only getting 50% on the vast majority for most of these people.
Exactly. So this is it's an interesting PR move, because this is only going to affect how many creators on Twitch are making more than $100,000 a year. I think their expectation was this wasn't going to rile up a bunch of mid-tier creators who are maybe...
I think they thought that this was a good PR strategy to announce it, maybe not the day after the gambling win, but you know, just in general, because they thought people these days hate the 1%, right? Tax the rich. So that's
the
basically
top 1% of streamers.
Yeah, they're saying, oh, we're only taking the money away from like the very top people, so therefore the majority of people will be okay with it. It did not play out that way. The public discourse is not that.
People are mad at Twitch on behalf of these creators, I guess, right?
Yeah, they underestimated the power of their fan bases.
I guess so. And people seem to be taking issue with, like, so in this Twitch statement, they talk about the reason why it can't be 70-30 anymore. And they point out one reason that I think a lot of people don't find super credible, which is just how much money it costs to host video content online. Because they refer to, like, if you're just a person who goes to Amazon and wants to pay for like cloud storage, this is how much it would be. And they sort of use that number to like try to explain how much they're spending.
Twitch is owned by Amazon, so presumably they're not paying the same public
I would not
rate.
expect that cost to be the same. That said, though, I actually think this is a legitimate argument, because for a long time, a lot of these companies are a little secretive about how profitable they are or aren't, like YouTube and Twitch, but they'll talk about their revenue. But the speculation was, and I think it was sort of confirmed in some interviews, that for a long time, YouTube wasn't profitable. And a lot of that had to do with just how expensive it was hosting millions of hours of video content around the world.
And not making enough back yet.
So I think they're sort of exaggerating or using figures that aren't really like appropriate to sort of justify the cost. But I totally believe that Twitch is spending an incredible amount of money to be able to host all this content.
I think what Twitch is saying, without wanting to say it this way, and this is just my interpretation of it, I don't actually have insider information, is that they think it's a waste of money it's too expensive to basically subsidize the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of creators that are too small to make enough money back through ads or subs. There's too many people who are trying to become a big streamer, but they just don't have the views. And it's too expensive to host their fucking 10-hour long streams or whatever it is. There's too many of those people, and they're not getting the subs. And Twitch is starting to not be able to afford subsidizing those people.
How much money is Twitch spending to host content for people who are literally making no money at all?
But they can't say that, because that sounds like you're an asshole. If you just say, you guys don't make me money.
YouTube has the same problem as well. Like, both of these platforms have thresholds for, hey, you need to have some people watching you before we pay you anything.
Like the new monetization rules that YouTube rolled out a year or two ago.
Yeah, your eligibility for the partner program. Twitch has something similar, and they mention the fact that they've reduced that threshold as a further way of justifying reducing their revenue share.
Why didn't they just do that more?
But here's the thing, that doesn't change the fact that they're hosting content for people under that threshold. So to me, I wonder if one day, like, but then, like, how do you become one of those people, right? Just how could these platforms save money by not hosting just millions of hours of content from people that no one's
There's a lot
watching?
of people, and according to polls and surveys I've seen in the last year, and kids growing up, they say that they want to be a streamer or a YouTuber.
Yeah,
So there's
you have to
probably
start somewhere too,
an
right?
increasing number of people starting a Twitch channel, and it doesn't go anywhere with respect in terms of making Twitch enough money to make it worth it.
Speaking of subsidies, I actually think the better argument, and the second one they mentioned in the statement for why it's a 50-50 split on Twitch, because it is 70, we should probably establish on YouTube, it is 70-30, right?
On YouTube, there's
For membership.
there's a few ways of monetizing. There's ad revenue, which is traditionally the way that most creators have made money, and that split is 55% for the creator, 45% to YouTube. Now, YouTube in the last few years introduced streaming and memberships are 70 for the creator, 30 for YouTube, as are super chats, which is basically like
So the
donations.
70-30 for memberships is default by YouTube, whereas it was just the
it's that for
special
everyone.
tier. And it's that for everyone.
But once you're eligible to introduce memberships, I don't think you can just turn on memberships if you don't have enough subscribers or watch time. There's thresholds to get there, but once you get there, it's 70-30 for everyone. There's no different splits, although there is different deals for top YouTube streamers. We'll talk about that later.
We'll get into that a little bit. But so I think the more credible reason for why Twitch could justify a worse split, the 50-50 split instead of 70-30, is because so on Twitch, being a subscriber of a channel means you're paying them $5 a month, right?
Yeah.
If you are a customer of Amazon Prime, if you're a Prime customer, how do you refer to that?
Yeah. Amazon Prime.
I don't have it. You have Prime?
What
does that mean? I just get
Canada,
stuff quicker?
It's
It's different, right?
In Canada, it's not the same like single day always shipping. Not all products are Amazon Prime, but we do have Amazon Prime. But I do have an Amazon Prime subscription.
Anyway, if you pay for Amazon Prime, you get a free membership you could give to a streamer.
Every month, I think.
Every month.
Which is great as a consumer.
This is great
as a
for
viewer.
streamers, but it means that Twitch, owned by Amazon, is subsidizing all of those memberships.
I heard a Twitch streamer say that somewhere between 15 and 40% of their and other top creators' memberships are actually Amazon Prime subscriptions. Sorry, I said memberships. But like they're actually generated from that. So that's a huge chunk of top creators' revenue that's from these freebies that Amazon is subsidizing and giving to viewers to give to Twitch streamers, basically.
And the statement from the president of Twitch says, Prime subs increase your effective revenue share by approximately 15% to 65%.
Okay, that aligns with what I just heard someone say.
Right?
Yeah.
So in
That's
a way,
huge.
you're not really getting a 50-50 split. Like they are like a pretty significant portion of your revenue is just being subsidized
By
in the first
Amazon.
place from Amazon, from people purchasing Prime memberships.
So why don't they just? I know there's reasons not
Why
to.
not just get
Why
rid of
not
that?
just get rid of that and not have to change the creator revenue split?
I don't know. Clearly,
Because they know it would drive people away. I understand. They know customers would be like, well, fuck that then. Yeah.
I know most people are just looking at this from a creator perspective, but the huge red flags here to me in all of this is Twitch probably isn't profitable. And all these signs point to them trying to think of ways they can actually make a profit. If I'm a streamer on Twitch right now, I'm seeing all these moves and I'm being like, how committed is Twitch to existing in the long term? Do I know what it's going to look like 6 months from now? Like,
Well, this
these
is
are
them trying to
pretty-
exist.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think it's kind of short-sighted of a lot of streamers just to be like so dismissive of these changes when it sounds like behind the scenes, this is just a platform trying to make their financials work.
I think there's, even though we have no real insight because I don't know anyone there, but like I could imagine that there's two very valid viewpoints here. I can imagine, if true, that Twitch hasn't been profitable and that they feel like, and they've run a bunch of numbers and thought that this was the best way to make the change, to recoup some of those costs and hopefully even break even in the short term and hopefully long term to save their platform. I could also believe that maybe they don't think they have much choice. And I do see streamers be like, why not just pay everyone 70-30? That should have been the change you made. And it's like, okay, they could, but then maybe there would definitely be no Twitch in 2 years. So is that the better outcome? So from a business perspective, I can imagine, although I don't know for sure, but if that were true, I can see why they would be making these decisions that are not favorable to creators because they're trying to like be sustainable as a business.
So what could make Twitch profitable and what I think makes YouTube profitable isn't memberships or selling things like that. It's ads. They're going to make the majority of their money from ads. The majority of the revenues are from ads.
And that's what they've been pushing recently.
So I think that is the more meaningful change that could happen and that you're likely to see on Twitch.
It's already been happening. And
yeah, you're getting
people
more
are not
pre-roll
happy.
ads. Yeah.
People fucking hate it. But here's the thing. They're trying to like figure out all these different departments where they can save money. One is the creator split. One is like ad incentives, which is a new program introduced by Twitch a while back that I think from my perspective targets more like mid-tier Twitch creators, and it gives them a number and it kind of estimates how much extra money you could make this month by running extra ads than normal. So if you're like a mid-tier creator and you see like I can make another $1,200 if I run 17 more ads, fucking let's do it. And I think it works. It won't work on top creator because they're like, fuck you. Like, I already have my contract and I don't want to do this to my viewers because they also have a different relationship with their viewers and kind of, not all of them, but I can see how a lot of them think about things differently than mid-tier creators. But the viewer doesn't want more ads than is already being delivered.
And integrating ads into live content is very different than introducing it or integrating it into video on demand content, right? So for years, Simply Nailogical videos were like 12 minutes? And there'd be like an ad at the beginning, maybe an ad in the middle, and an ad at the end. A lot of these streamers are streaming for like hours and hours a day. And some of them have contracts that are like, every hour I need to take a break and run 1 to 4 minutes of ads or something like that, you know?
The average is 4 minutes per hour,
Is it?
the average. But different streamers have different contracts. It's definitely not universal.
But I guess my point is I think people are totally okay with like, I'm seeing a pre-roll on YouTube. I think the experience of I'm hanging out with a streamer for hours, that experience being interrupted by ads, I think feels very different than the way you are served ads on short form content.
I think, most of the criticism isn't just that there's more ads. I mean, that is a criticism, but it's also they're really fucking long so that now when you're watching a stream, you're interrupted by like 3 to 4 whole minutes, which is so long that it almost feels like we're going back to TV commercials time.
And then
which no one wants to do.
And you missed 4 minutes of a live stream, right?
And that's a really good point too. So as the ad is playing, the streamer continues because like they don't care, and anyone who's paying a subscription doesn't get to see doesn't have to see the ads. So the streamer just continues talking and doing whatever they're doing, and then the people who don't have a subscription have to sit through 3 minutes. And
sounds like a good incentive
honestly,
to pay for a membership.
Yeah, right. But it doesn't always work, and that's okay. And some people just don't want to do that, and that's fine. And I don't think streamers are like trying to pressure people. It's just like if you want to, you don't have to. But now ads are way longer than they ever were, and try and watch 3 minutes of ads in a row. Honestly, I feel like people just don't do that anymore. If a TV commercial comes on, you fucking change the channel. YouTube, honestly, I think has changed our expectation or tolerance for ads because generally speaking, not always, generally speaking, they're mostly skippable ads, like 5 seconds. And if they're a long ad, it's like 10 seconds.
If they're
Sometimes you get
unskippable,
longer,
they
but-
tend not to be super long. YouTube has been experimenting with serving people more
than one.
unskippable ads.
I'm not saying that hasn't happened, but
don't think it's going over too well.
It's definitely not near anywhere like the experience we remember from 15 years ago where commercials on TV would never fucking end. And that's what I feel like viewer feedback on Twitch has been lately, that it feels like I'm back in TV commercial land. What the fuck is this 3-4 minutes at a time? I'm leaving.
Yeah, we all thought like these digital streaming services was like this, a new age of consuming content. But like Netflix now is talking about integrating commercials, even though you pay a membership. Yeah, I think
No.
And with all the different streaming services that everyone's paying for, at this point, it's not even that different from what it looked like to pay for like a cable package 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not as modernization as we thought.
So on the business side, I understand why Twitch is adding more ads because they're trying to recoup and subsidize all their other losses. And they're angering creators with this. But from a creator perspective, I also absolutely understand how, let's pretend I'm a Twitch streamer and I've been getting a 70-30. And you're telling me in between the lines, you're telling me you're not going to renew my contract at 70/30 the next time it's up. So I have, maybe 6 months left on my contract like this. So when it comes time to renew, I'm mad because you've been paying me what I thought was reasonable for a split for 3 years now. And now you're telling me you're going to cut my salary by like potentially millions.
So that's where YouTube comes in, right? It is not a coincidence. A lot of creators have been going over to YouTube in the last year or so.
But not because of this announcement. It's been happening for 2 years.
Yeah, it's been happening for a while now that some streamers that had become very big on Twitch signed exclusive deals to come over to YouTube. We don't know exactly what those deals look like. A lot of people have guessed and speculated on what they are. I think what we know based on what those people say when they come over to YouTube is that they feel like they were very much taken care of financially. A lot of them mention just like it is life-changing money that YouTube is offering some of these people. And the other thing that tends to be mentioned is that I think the streamers on exclusive Twitch contracts often refer to the fact that they are required to stream
a lot
of hours a month to meet the requirements of their contract. And the people who have come over to YouTube have said those expectations are much more reasonable and realistic.
And one thing we should just clarify for those who don't know, people like the largest creators on Twitch, generally speaking, had a contract where they weren't allowed to live stream on another platform. That's why it's either like I'm a Twitch streamer or I've moved to YouTube. So because a lot of people would just be like, why not just do both? So you can make money on both.
And we've seen
the top streamers generally aren't allowed to do that.
Yeah. Very recently, Ninja, one of like the biggest streamers in the world. Well, once his contract was over, he's like, I'm just going to stream at all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is actually an interesting move.
I'm glad he's doing that for research purposes.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting thing. But yeah, I mean, what do we want to say about people who've come over to YouTube? We think it's, we're interested in streaming. You've been streaming. I've been doing a little bit of streaming.
Yeah, Nintendo.
It's fun. I want YouTube to improve its product. I think for a long time, people sort of realized that just the streaming experience for creators and viewers was better on Twitch just because they've probably been doing this longer. And YouTube's sort of been playing catch up in terms of the features of the live streaming product they offer people.
It's just unfortunate, though, because we've had so many major Twitch streamers move over to YouTube, make huge announcement videos about it. It's like a huge deal for these communities that they're moving. But no one is moving because YouTube is a better live streaming platform.
At this point, no.
And creators will even admit that.
Yeah.
The creators who were paid potentially millions on an exclusive contract deal aren't moving because it's a better live streaming experience for their audience.
Well, they might have more confidence in YouTube as a platform
that's sustainable.
That is sustainable.
Yep, totally fair.
It's not fair to say that they're just coming over because someone threw money at them, but that does seem to be a big part of their calculus, which totally makes sense.
It's something that they've said, and I've heard them celebrate it, because there's been at least like 6 that I've kind of noticed in the last year or two who've moved over, and they'll tell their audience, like, I'm not allowed to tell you how much because that would violate the NDA, but I got the bag, or it was so much money that I would be stupid to refuse. So when I, as a viewer, hear that, I'm like, holy, they got millions. Like, I don't know this, but I'm like, okay, they were given millions to come over to YouTube and leave Twitch. And they probably, I'm not saying that it wasn't a hard decision and, their community was built on Twitch. It's a risk to them to move over. They don't know if their community will follow. That's huge. And also the live streaming software is like not really the best. But I think, I don't know how, well, YouTube I think is a much more sustainable service and platform in general, as has been proven by the past 16 years or something. And while I do believe they can absolutely improve upon their YouTube live streaming features, and they have, they listen to some of my feedback too when I do streaming stuff. Yeah. I give them things that I think should change, and they will do what they can.
They do it slowly.
Yeah, sure, but whatever. They're working on it, and that's great. And we need competition. So YouTube became a competitor to Twitch. While they're doing that, and the platform itself, I do think it's sustainable long term. I don't think it's sustainable for YouTube to continue
to throw
paying
millions of
dollars to Twitch streamers to come over. Because what's going to happen? All these Twitch streamers know that they all got a lot of money, and their friends, if they're contemplating, should I move to YouTube, especially after this Twitch announcement? Only if I get a $5 million deal, because I know that so-and-so got this. And if they try to go to YouTube and YouTube's like, we don't have that, we're not going to offer you that, they're not fucking going to move.
Yeah.
They're going to expect that. And I think a misstep, if I could put it that way, I think maybe an oversight that YouTube should have done. While in the contract, I imagine it says like you can't say how much you were paid. It probably should have also said you shouldn't brag about how you got life-changing money because honestly, it's not that smart for YouTube to have all these creators say they gave me so much money. It's so stupid how much money, because like now all these other creators, if they're contemplating moving, they expect stupid money as well.
Yeah, and it probably isn't sustainable either. Like my hypothesis is that YouTube is willing to pay more for these streamers than they're even going to make from them being on the platform, just because they're trying to increase their portfolio and the ecosystem of live content.
Yeah, totally.
That won't be true forever. I don't think. I mean, I guess Google can afford to keep throwing money at people probably for the foreseeable future, but I can't imagine that this will just continue forever. No. And this is speculation, but it is possible these contracts, based on some of our knowledge of the industry, if they're paying like $10 million to have some AAA, one of the biggest streamers in the world, come over, if they're giving them like that money as a guarantee, it might be the case that they're recouping that money through the deal.
Explain that. I totally agree with you, but explain what recoupable means.
So it would essentially mean that like, okay, here's your guaranteed like $10 million you're going to make this year, but whatever revenue you make naturally from people signing up to become members and super chats and stuff, we're going to sort of recover that against the $10 million we guaranteed you. So you're not just getting that on top of what we're paying you.
You're not getting the $10 million exclusive deal and your 70% of membership.
So I'm not saying I know this to be the case with these streamers they brought over.
But it would make sense if
But
it was
I'm
this.
aware there are contracts like this in the media landscape, let's say. And it would make a lot of sense, I think.
That doesn't mean that it's bad. Like, first of all, you're getting a huge fucking guarantee up front. Maybe it's divided into like you get the first half on the first year of streaming and the second half, something like that. But like that's still a giant fuckload of money that would have otherwise been a huge risk if you did not have an exclusive contract and you moved over from Twitch and you're just trying to start on YouTube and you're reliant on memberships. Whereas I actually find it interesting because I do watch a lot of streamers who've moved over from Twitch to YouTube, and I never fucking hear them tell anyone to become a member. You know why? Because it's probably recoupable and they don't really care.
Maybe. Well, we spent this whole episode talking about Twitch. Were we meant to do that? We were going to talk about chess.
I do want to clarify, though,
Swift.
that just in case someone misunderstands, that I am not on an exclusive contract with YouTube. And when I started streaming, I did that on my own volition. I was not paid to do so. And I continued streaming because I wanted to do so. I also currently, in my current situation, prefer to be like a free agent where like I could have gone to Twitch and just started if I wanted to, except I also didn't like their exclusivity. In order to become a partner, I would have had to accept that I couldn't change.
Yeah.
And I generally don't like that in general, not just like about streaming, but I don't like contracts where I'm locked into like I can't explore something else. It's like I wouldn't want to work with just one brand who says like you can never use another brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just me, but okay, clarification done. What? Sorry.
Do you want to do Ben's pop culture minute at the end?
A minute of pop culture?
I just tell you about some current event for a single minute, and then you give me your opinion on it.
Okay, go on.
All right, pop culture minute one timey. Taylor Swift's coming out with a new album next month, October 21st, Midnights. Pre-order available right now. Very excited. People aren't sure what kind of music it's going to be. We haven't had a single leaked yet. I'm most excited about the fact that it's been a long time since she went on tour.
You gonna go?
Pandemic had to. I think I will. I think you'll come with
Is
me.
she coming to Ottawa?
No,
She's definitely not coming to Ottawa.
not so much.
What are you
But
expecting from her album?
That's
What's the vibe
I
then?
think
What's the
that
aesthetic?
is the fun part. She has re-released old albums. She's
Okay.
released new albums. She's releasing another new album. What is she going to tour? What is she going to perform on tour?
What
She
kind of
has
music do you expect?
Like
There's
15 albums of content. We don't know. It's a surprise.
There's no hint.
Spin the wheel.
What about the aesthetics?
It's like gambling. You don't know what you're going to get.
Oh no! Are
We
you going
could
to
lose
lose
it
all
all.
your money?
We could lose it all and get all of her worst hits, or we could get the best.
Well, hasn't she released like an image, a cover image for the art album
Doesn't
art?
tell you what the music's going to sound like.
Yeah, but it can kind of give
People
you
are
a vibe.
speculating based on the image that it's not.
Doesn't she have like a match or a lighter? Like
Well,
lighting
there's
something
4
on
different
fire?
album covers if you want to really try to
Okay.
dissect it for the pre-order.
4
There's
different types of music. One
different
is
colored
rock,
vinyl.
one is rap, one is folk, one is
Rap music is definitely what
Classical.
I'm expecting. Okay, there's first minute. Second minute, Drake. Drake likes to gamble. He's a partner in stake. He recently was exposed for sending DMs to a music critic. And a lot of people are making fun of Drake about
what
this.
does that mean? Sorry,
So there's a music critic, big on YouTube, Anthony Fantano, I think is the name.
okay.
Anyway, he rates albums. He goes, this new album is this out of 10.
Is it like the Roger and Ebert of music kind of thing?
Sure, yeah, that's quite the reference, but okay. Anyway, here, music critic doesn't like Drake's music.
Oh, did he pay him?
Drake sends this
Gambling.
guy a DM on Instagram.
Says I will fuck you up.
No, he goes.
Okay, what do you say?
He reviews this guy's existence. So this guy will criticize music. He's like, I'm gonna give this like a light 1, like it's a
Okay.
1 out of 10, right?
So he DM'd him.
So
and
Drake
said,
DMs
I
this
don't
guy,
like your
goes,
hair.
I think your existence is like a light 1. Like he's reviewing this guy. He's like, I think your life is. I'm giving your life a bad review. I thought it was hilarious, but
Yeah.
everyone is goofing on Drake because they're like, you're insecure messaging a music critic. You're so insecure. But like, to me, it's like, man, it was kind of funny. He probably took like 30 seconds out of his day just to send a trolly message to some critic. And this critic is acting like this is the biggest deal and like the best thing that's ever happened to me, making multiple videos about it, goofing on Drake. When I think it's just like celebrities are allowed to people who criticize their stuff. And I thought it was like totally just like a funny, lighthearted comment and not a sign that he's like some insecure loser.
This is always a trap. If you're famous or you're a celebrity, you can't respond to someone who's a hater because then you're, oh my God, they're giving them attention. They must be insecure. It's a fucking trap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agree.
It's a trap.
All right, last one, chess.
What about chess?
The world chess champion, Magnus Carlsen, recently lost, even though he had the white pieces, to young...
The white pieces?
Yeah, white and black pieces in chess. White moves first. They have an advantage.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So he got beaten by this young grandmaster, Hans Niemann, I think 19 years old. Guy's still a teenager.
Okay.
People
Cool.
peak really early in chess. Your brain is actually better when you're like
And then you get old and
early
dumber.
20s.
Yeah, I
That's
feel
why
that.
a lot of like mathematicians and stuff, they make like their biggest discoveries while they're still in their early 20s, I
Like your
think.
brother.
Yeah, he's way over the hill now. Anyway, he beat Magnus Carlsen. And when Magnus Carlsen, world champion, loses a match, he tweets out something cryptic saying like, I probably shouldn't say anything about this, but he withdraws from the tournament.
Sounds like you in the podcast.
Yeah.
I know
Probably
I shouldn't say
talk about
anything,
this.
but go on.
And then the next day, the tournament introduces some new security measures where
Like what?
like they put the match on a tape delay. And I think they were scanning people a little bit more as they were coming in for like any sort of electronic devices. Anyway, so the implication here is that he thinks this 19-year-old kid cheated against him in the match to beat him. Because Carlsen played he didn't play an opening that he had ever played before. And this kid seemed to know exactly how to respond to it in a way that is, I think, suspicious to a lot of chess observers.
So is it not possible that he's just like really smart and good?
Well, and he is good, but it is very unusual for a guy like that to beat the best player in the world in that way.
Okay.
So
Security measures were introduced and
I think a lot of the speculation has been like, how could this guy have cheated? Because they're over the board. They're playing chess against each other
maybe
at a
he's
table.
speaking to people with his mind. Ben.
Someone introduced the theory that he may have snuck a sex toy into his body that was vibrating
A vibrator in his butt.
in a
That's how he
vibrator's
cheated.
butt to
It's
tell
fucking-
him where
it's
to.
pretty smart.
Yeah, we'll just give him that one.
Works.
So like one chess streamer mentioned this, and then just people just ran with it, which is kind of hilarious.
But there's no real evidence.
There's no reason to think this.
All right, it's just
But,
funny.
So here's the thing, though. This guy has admitted to cheating before. And he talks about it like, hey, when I was younger in some tournaments, I cheated because I just wanted to get my rating up, and like I've grown since then. But he's talking about like this, like it's when he was a kid. But like he's only 19 now. This was only
He was a kid last year.
exactly. So like I think it was confirmed he cheated like 3 years ago. So he's trying to diminish the fact that he cheated in online tournaments. Chess.com comes out, the biggest platform for playing chess online. They come out and say like he is trying to underplay how much we found out he was cheating. He is not allowed to play chess on our platform anymore because we found him cheating.
But can't they? Okay, I understand you're looking at past behavior to try and predict future, but like also just find evidence during this match and question whether or not there was cheating. That's it. That's all you got to do.
This story is still developing, and this was longer than a minute. So I think Magnus Carlsen is probably going to make a statement probably pretty soon.
About
he has
what?
intimated he is going to explain a little bit more why he seems to be so confident. That's something.
It shouldn't be him. It should be like the arbitrators, the fucking referees of chess. Are there referees of chess?
Yeah.
Like who's the
Yeah.
judge?
Yeah, no, there's organizational
Yeah.
bodies that are looking out for cheating.
Someone do an audit, like, you know.
And maybe we'll never know in this case if something funny was going on, but maybe we see a movement in chess of people caring more about.
But
trying
what
to
if he
get
just
cheating
wasn't
into it.
cheating and he's just like actually really good and all this?
Well,
fucking
he is really good. There's no denying he's really good. He's one of the best players in the world, right? So it's possible
So
he
it's
won.
possible he won a game. I don't know anything, but I'm just like, find me evidence or what? Like, that's all.
But it's kind of like when Dream was cheating in Minecraft.
But they found evidence.
Well, no, eventually they knew he was cheating just because based on the statistical improbability that he
But they
could have
couldn't
done what he
prove it
did.
yet. But then they proved it.
And then they proved it. We're at the stage now where it's like the statistical probability of this having happened is incredibly low, and this guy has a history of cheating.
Okay, well, just wait for the proof to drop, you know?
But we
just
may never
like
get
court.
the proof. We may never know. And hey, maybe this kid's innocent, and this stink will just follow him around.
Yeah, it's
his
like a
whole
wrongful
career.
conviction. So fucked
Maybe.
up. Also, I mean, cheating is also fucked up. They're both fucked up. Get me the proof. Where is it? Evidence? Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Your Honor.
All right, to be continued.
Are we gonna do this at the end of every episode? Talk about chess updates?
Subscribe to the Botez sisters if you want to hear more about this.
Do they cheat at chess?
No, but no. Why would you accuse them of
I don't know.
Don't just throw
I don't know. I don't watch them.
accusations like
no,
that out
It was
there.
a question, man. I said, do they?
No, but they are popular chess
Okay.
streamers that talk about chess
Are they gonna move
things.
to YouTube? It's a better question.
That is a good question.
When's their contract up?
I don't
A
know.
lot of Twitch streamers' contract has been up lately, it seems.
Apologies to the Botez sisters. We were going to have them on today, but we ran out of time.
I'm so happy you said that again. I feel like our audience is too. I've been missing those.
Well, they were supposed to be here, but we talked about Twitch so long. So.
I don't think, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening. I hope you have a fantastic Taco Tuesday.
Fantastic.
We're coming to you live from YouTube and where else are we? Podcast platforms, but
Apple Podcast, Spotify. I was going to say Shopify. Spotify.
not everything but Twitch. No.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see y'all later. Bye.